with that said, as I'll continue monitoring the chat room over here, so you guys please submit anything you'd like and any questions that we can read off Dill, or we'll just unmute you and you guys can go yourself. But with that said, Susan, over to you and Dill.
Great. Hello, everybody. And for those of you that are new this week, I think we do have some new ones. Our whole goal is to share positive human energy and hopefully to have some entertaining and thought-provoking discussion. And we're trying to make this as, you know, two-way versus one-way as we can. And with the number of people on us, so, you know, just try to not all jump in at one time. We'll see how we can control it. Since we're actually giving you guys some opportunity to talk and see each other this week. Every week we have a goal of the week, and one of the goals we always have is for all of us to go share positive human energy with whoever we come in contact virtually with or 6 feet apart from, especially here in Georgia now that we can get out and about a little bit. I still haven't gotten the hair done yet though. So try to remember that. But then I think also this week, you know, we're hearing a lot about mental health issues and people really struggling. So try to just figure ways that you can reach out to maybe your friends that, even people that are healthy mentally and strong. I know there's some days I wake up and I'm just not into it that day. So try to take some time this week to reach out to people, especially, you know, for some of those that are still in states like New York where you really cannot get out and about at all. And so let's try to focus on that. Well, last week I introduced the speaker, but you all know him already. But let me start with our Intrepid Spirits quote. We got to always start with that. The sea is dangerous and the storms are terrible, but these have never been sufficient reasons to remain ashore. Unlike timid souls, intrepid spirits seek victory over those things that seem impossible. It is with an iron will that they embark on the most daring of all adventures, to meet the shadowy future without fear and conquer the unknown. All right, so here's an intrepid spirit who's gonna make sure none of us are, what is it? Timid souls. So
welcome guys and gals. This is super, the whole new Zoom thing. I can't believe it. We're gonna shoot for two sections today. But first I'm gonna start with this. And when the danger ended and the people found themselves, they grieved for the dead and they made new choices. That's what's gonna happen. And then there's a quote. Every time I walk in the Coke, everybody knows I call it Fort Coke in Atlanta. And you'd see that quote in the rotunda, right? And it said, there's no limit to the amount of good you can do if you do not care who gets the credit. They say they credit that with Mr. Woodruff, but then they got, and then I looked it up, Susan looked it up, it's like Ronald Reagan and George Marshall, the general. Who knows, but it's a great thought with all the partisanship that's going on right now around this whole crisis that we're in worldwide. As we talked last week, and I've lived my life this way. You know, history has a way of repeating itself. Therefore, we got to look back to see what's probably coming. And Adam Atkins, I think Adam's on the horn today with us. Adam asked as we were leaving last week, what is the agency and client relationship moving forward? What might that look like? And so I fooled around and I went back to the future. Who remembers the show Mad Men? Well, you know, I was at McCann Erickson at the tail end of that. We had drinks every day at lunch. We had drinks in the office, and you know, a whole lot of other crazy stuff used to be going on in those days. And then the world changed. The women took over and read us the Riot Act. They took our business. Thank you, Charlotte Beers. First woman VP, J. Walter Thompson, and she became the Undersecretary of State. Thank you, Mary Wells Lawrence. Who knows her? She founded Wells, Rich, and Green, an ad agency that I forget who bought them. You know, I'm sure I IPG, WPP, well, someone bought her. And then I think another woman that touched a lot of people's hearts, her name was Caroline Robinson Jones. She was a black girl that came out of the University of Michigan, turned up as a secretary at J. Walter Thompson, convinced them that she was a copywriter. Left, as you know, the ad business, you got to jump around to get promoted. She jumped over to BB&O and became the first woman, African-American or black executive in the advertising business. The rules changed, but there was still plenty of fun to be had, right? Because if you remember our business, we're in the business of fun. Always remember our business is about selling stuff. Hopefully, the products you're working for, you truly believe in. Because I know for a while there at McCann, they were sending me all over the world to do ideas, and some of the stuff that I was having to work on, it wasn't really that much, I don't know, wasn't great stuff. Let's leave it at that. So what are you going to do to do these agency? What's going to make an agency great? Well, first of all, everybody in the agency better be in the idea business. Everybody in the agency better understand strategy for each brand. Because if you don't have the strategy right, you'll never get the right ideas. We all know that, right? And then the new rules, this is funny. The new rules say, oh, ye with the winning idea for that product wins. Well, it's always been that way. But who remembers the old days at places with the massive corporations with the huge budgets? We could have a few bad ideas and not get fired because we could hide them in the media budget or whatever. We could get away with it, right? Not anymore. Agency will be reaching out for ideas. And many of these ideas, guys and gals, are going to come from us on this phone call. And it's going to be done just like it is now. We're going to be freelance contractors. We are mercenaries with great ideas. And we're only going to get paid when you have a winner. The days of people, say, oh, here's a retainer, go home and think about this for a month. Those days, I think, are over. The agency that figures out, and then, specific, and to get the questions going, I hope. Here's one idea, Adam, for you. The agency that figures out the client service in the new normal will have a great advantage. Yeah. And what's the new? I think I can see dinners in New York, Atlanta, but not at restaurants. The dinners will be catered in from the nice restaurant or delivered. I say not cooked, delivered. They'll be in sanitized rooms, 8 people at the table that used to be for 12. And those 8 people are talking about strategy, ideas. It's not like the good old days we'd go to Buckhead and have a few glasses of wine and just hang out. We talk business, but not serious business. But these are going to be serious because we're not getting together that often. And those 8 people, you better have diversity. It's going to be critical, absolutely critical. Having been in the idea business since 1976, it always struck me, and I've been blessed to be around some pretty big ideas around the world about how the greatest ideas always came from like a couple people together. Like Tim Brennan and I, he was one of the first creative guys at Apple. He and I just meshed. He was like the copywriter, and I was the crazy idea guy. And we did some stuff that's still around out there in the marketing world. So small groups, this is what we are, a small group. Back in the early 80s, or 86, basically, I started working with McCann Erickson. I sold them World Sports Promotions, and they sent me all over the world to do ideas. And we would work, back then, I'd go to Germany, Mexico, Brazil, Korea, and I'd come back to HQ. And how did we work? We worked with fax machines. Who remembers that? It was like you'd get a fax, you couldn't wait, and then you'd send it back. And then from there, we worked with FedEx. And it was like, FedEx was brilliant. They put the fax machines out of business. And then, of course, came along the internet. And, if you think about it, Back to the future, right? We're not going anywhere. We're trading the fax machine and the internet and all that jazz for Zoom, for what we're doing right now. But this is what it's going to look like, right? Oh, by the way, the old days of Ignition when we all worked, you know, on top of each other, you know, we were touching elbows, like doing a chicken dance, for God's sakes, right? That is over. So there'll be a restructuring of how that office space looks. And I'm going to quickly jump forward to go backwards a bit. You know, I just pick on right now the project that I'm working on called Music World Cup. We had a meeting the other day, 3 different continents. I haven't met 2 of the 3 people we were working. I have never met them. I feel like they're my new best pals and they're just on Zoom, right? So my point being is that is the new normal. And they're my client. You know, I'm at some level, I'm not, I guess I'm on the team, but I'm not officially, I don't own the thing. The tools that they use, I mean, you guys know all the tools. I won't even go into that. But, you know, as I think about the new normal, I really find myself praying every morning for these agency people and everybody on this call. It's like, can I just pick on Endeavor for a second? You know, they are way diversified, and oh my gosh, they've laid off thousands of people, and they own like IMG, which Mr. McCormick was a dear friend of ours, and they tried to buy Momentum, Ignition. I mean, I'm pretty buddies with those guys back in the day, and that college business is going to be 3 years before that really comes back as the college sports ramp up. And I believe as an example, Adam, to your what's it look like, I think a lot of these big universities will just hire their own sales staff. You know what I mean? I think the model may just collapse. And then, you know, lastly, that's not last. I have 2 more things, guys. In short, though, the client relationship is all about who has winning ideas, right? It's never going to change. I don't care what it is. Ideas, winning ideas that are what? Profitable. Profitable. That the ideas are worthless unless someone is making, we're selling the juice, so to speak, right? Sergio Zeman, one of the most famous marketing guys of our era, he was a tough SOB on me, I'll tell you that. And I'll never forget, we were in Belgium relaunching Coke, and I get this thing, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean what I'm doing? I'm trying to sell Coca-Cola. And he says, good thing, because he says, most people here aren't trying to do that. And I was like, fire them. And you know what? He did, a bunch of them. So in closing on this piece, let's spend a minute and just think about what's near and dear to my heart. Okay, and that is obviously the human touch, experiential marketing. The human touch will never, ever be lost. Just go to parking lots of churches and look at the people in their cars as an example. So what we're going to do, we're going to find new methods of execution, right? It's going to happen. The people are going to come out. They're going to come back out. They're already dying to come out. And what do? What have we done on this phone call, everybody here? We have made memory points. People can still remember, hey, when did you see the torch in 1996? Go to Lake Placid, ask them, hey, did you see the torch in 2002? Oh my gosh, it started snowing. I was over here. You know, I mean, it's like those are memory points for brands. That's what we do. Special ones. Think about right now, Adam, and everybody, at 1900 Eastern Standard Time in New York City, what happens? Everybody stands out the windows and starts banging their pots and pans and going haywire, right? You don't think kids are going to remember that the rest of their lives? The people singing off their apartment buildings in Italy, so phenomenal, right? And then there's a young girl I just saw today who's sings the national anthem every day outside of her house to her neighbors, and the neighborhood, they all show up, right? It's pretty cool. And then of course the young kids, all of all ages actually, are posting their music videos at all the different platforms. Someday maybe, well, hopefully someday we'll have a bunch of them on Music World Cup. But it's very, very, people never forget that. I heard this song of the guy in Italy. I'll never forget it, off his apartment. You know, standing on the roof. It was so cool. So those are memory points. Those are not going to go away. The events are going to happen. Trust me. I have lived, at my age, I have lived through 5 times where I was told I was out of business. You'll never get more experiential marketing. It's a pile of, baloney, et cetera, et cetera. No, it's going to come back. We've lived through the tough times, and it's here. It's here. We're going to be back. People are going to get out there. We're going to get out there. We're going to have the coolest ideas, and that's what's going to win. We understand the difference between an idea and an idea that sells and moves product profitably. If you do that, you win every single time. So with that, any questions or thought? I hope someone's got some thoughts. It'd be great.
All right. So listen, everybody, I unmuted everybody, so you may want to put your mute back on, but now it gives you control. Walker, notice you have a in here. Do you want to just read that aloud for yourself?
Yes, Aaron.
How quickly do you think the economy is going to pick back up when quarantine officially ends? Specifically, like consumer behavior, once they know that they can go to places of business. Do you think that they'll spend freely now that they can go and eat in restaurants and occupy spaces, or do you think there'll be more delayed things opening back up again?
All right, this is Dill. Anybody else wants to pipe in and have to pay? I'm sure there's a bunch of ideas here. I believe it's going to ramp up slowly, but steadily. I think there's going to be sectors that are really going to lag. Okay, I think the small restaurant sector, those guys we're going to lose a lot of those guys. I think the airline industry is going to be a real tough go. I think the hotel industry is going to be. That is a big global group, and yeah, so we're getting some intel there, which is interesting. But yeah, some sectors some sectors haven't missed a beat. You want to own a Publix, right? Grocery store, they'll tell you that the kids that work there that I know, they tell me it's like Christmas every day. They're packed, right? So there's certain sectors that are doing fine. That example, you go and try to buy a Coca-Cola product that we're near and dear to. Walmart, half the time they don't have the stuff you want, and yet the profits are down. And somebody said, Jill, what's that? It's because we're not selling fountain. And fountain is where we sell. That's the most profitable area for the company, right? So yeah, that's a short answer. But we won't do the next section of sports. Let's keep doing questions.
And Walker, he was a swimmer at the University of Georgia. I want to make sure that I introduce you guys to each other because you're all wonderful people. He is getting married pretty soon to a equestrian UGA athlete. And Walker is majoring in accounting. So Melinda, my accounting friend on here, y'all need to hook up. All right, who else has a question?
Yeah.
All right, don't be shy. Unmute yourself and ask a question. Let's see, are there any others on this? I'm reading the chat, so bear with me. Everybody's just happy to see each other. Star Wars Day, what is that?
Oh yeah, this is a big deal.
Okay.
You didn't know that?
No,
Sunshine
I didn't know that.
All right.
I want to know what Mikey is eating. What's Mikey eating?
Mikey. Let's see, where's Mikey eating?
Mikey, what you got?
It's lunchtime, man. It's lunchtime here in the
There's Mikey and Dre. Awesome.
There you guys.
All right. Well, do we have any happy moments? Let's go. Well, we don't. Let's cut it short today. Let's be nice.
All right.
Okay. Hello? Next week we'll go on participant sports, and then we also have Patricia Houston. I know she was an Igniter, so a lot of you may know her. She founded MMR Live. She was the first person I recommended to get the Master's in Marketing Research, and she got in. I am, by the way, 100%. I've recommended 3 people to get into that master's program. So if you know anybody that wants to get a Master's in Marketing Research, come to me. I'll help you get a recommendation and get in. And so she's going to talk about an initiative they've put together. It's called E-Learning UX Project. And she can explain it a lot better to us next week. But if I get the gist right, it's about how do we make sure we capture the different learnings that we're doing with learning at home and all that stuff. How are we capturing these things and chronicling so we can use that in the future and learn from what we're going through today? But she can explain that a whole lot better for all of us next week. So any happy comments or dedications of the day?
Hey, this is Robert. I want to hear from Lars Thorn. Lars, what makes you happy, man? You always got something happy.
On the spot.
Unmuting, John. Oh my gosh, Lars. Hello.
What's happening? Dill and Susan, what a joy to see you guys. This is really special that you do this. And to be reconnected with all these friends from, many moons ago. It's really, really special to see everybody. Yeah, as an extrovert, quarantine is not exactly ideal for the likes of me and many of you, I'm sure. So I live out in Los Angeles, right off the beach, which is closed, of course, but we have a beautiful view. Something I created with some friends that I think might give you guys some ideas of ways to make people happy. One is a friend of mine created this quarantine quest, which basically is like a treasure hunt in your own home. So we put together a list of items and you have to take pictures of them and then send them in. I've created a bunch of games over the last few years. And so I use those as prizes. And my wife and I got married a year and a half ago. And so we just sent it out to like 20 family members. And so next weekend, we're going to host a quarantine quest of our own. So that's a fun idea that you might do with families and friends. And then I've been doing these kind of Zoom calls with like my class of 95 from the Waldorf School 25 years ago. And so I set up and I'll pose funny questions like, celebrity crush when you were a kid, or fun stuff we used to do in the neighborhood, or your favorite movie when we were kids. We set up like a little draft pick. And so that's just a nice way to facilitate conversations and bring up old memories. But this is bringing back so many memories. Thank you guys for hosting this, and great to see you all.
Great. So of course, Lars is being our creative one, getting everybody. See, there's the future experiential marketing, right? Of doing it virtually, but apart, but together. So we would expect nothing less from Lars. Awesome. Great. All right. Anybody else? We got.
I got an idea.
Hey, I've got one I wanted to share.
Okay.
I was going through the pictures here, 3 pages of people, which is cool. And I see Spencer Clark. All right. So small world here. And I know some of you, if not all of you, but we moved up to Iowa State for 2 years. And I was a professor, believe it or not, of marketing for a couple of years while we were living up there, and still getting resource department started and our other stuff. And Spencer was one of my students. And Spencer said, man, I'd really like to do something cool. And, whatever, I talked him into experiential marketing, which maybe he regrets now, I don't know. But, and hooked him up with Dill and Susan. And I don't know how many times you've been to Lake Placid, but he went to Lake Placid and worked for Dill and Susan. I think he stayed in your house, right? But
yeah, 3 times.
He's been there 3 winters in a row.
Yeah, if you haven't,
he's part of the family. I threatened to cut his hair one night with a knife, but he didn't go for that so well.
So anyhow, just brings back a lot of memories, because in 2001, I took off my junior year of college to go and work for Dill and Susan, and to see Spencer here, and who knows, he might go another 20 years like I have, but really cool, and makes me happy to see. Lots of fun.
But thank you.
Great. And so for any of you with college kids, Dill and I, we still love working with them and helping them. So don't be shy about it.
We have plenty of room in the house in Lake Placid. Just as long as Spencer doesn't, bring too many buddies with him. No, seriously, what I would say makes me happy it really does go towards the this whole experiential marketing and virtual reality is carry the load. It's 9 years ago I started walking from West Point to Dallas, as a bunch of you probably know. But this year it's virtual, and it's a struggle. But every day we get out there, Susan and I, and we walk, and I'm making all sorts of funny pictures with cows and this and that. And in the end of the day, our goal of $2.5 million, we're never going to raise that this year. But, we're over $750,000. Excuse me already. So I would encourage you, I think if nothing else, you'll laugh at seeing a fat old man with the carry the load flag and a cowboy hat on walking out in the middle of nowhere in Georgia. But I'd encourage you to take a look at Facebook or LinkedIn, and I'd love you to join Team Adirondack or anything you want to do. And I'm not asking it's not about the money. It's about just the prayers and the positive human energy for these families that are gone through a lot of tough times, believe me. So that's my dedication.
Awesome. All right. Before we close out the meeting, join us next week, and we're going to have Dill talk some and Patricia, and any of you guys that have something that you want to share, let us know, and we can, give you time to share with our group some of the great stuff that you're doing or thought about, or, like Lars, I loved your ideas. I think that's something you should probably share further than just your 20 friends. I know we'd have a lot of fun with it at our house doing that. So encourage you to spread it beyond that.
Right.
All right. Anybody
else? If there's somebody that we think of in our vortexes, like Brandon Harris, I want him to, as an example, he popped on the other day and was unbelievable. We need to get him. Anybody you think of and go, hey, this guy or gal would be fabulous to give us some positive info. Boom, let me know, right? And we'll go hunt him down, him or her down.
All right. Well, great. Well, everybody.
Great to see you, Petersons.
They were a 96 couple. They're one of the first. Take charge. Yay.
Awesome. We live in a world of little snack size experiences, but we got a little extra time to read as a community. So take charge. It's all here.
Charge. One day at a time. Testing. And you might have been part of a story in there, so you never know. Yeah, if Eric and Carol, I think we're our first Igniter couple to get married, maybe, and we've had plenty since then. So awesome.
Testing. Hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Hey, my name is James Regoord. I'm checking in from Ithaca, New York, and I just wanted to share a quick positive story specific to the UGA community. And it might be a little PG-13, so I apologize, but it's not too bad. One of my best friends from college, his name's Dave Ocampo. He met his fiance, Liz, at Georgia. And the story how they met is kind of interesting. But essentially, they had a wedding in Atlanta planned for last week. And I was supposed to attend. I'm in the wedding. Unfortunately, due to COVID, the city of Roswell had to cancel the wedding. So it was really tragic, It was heartbreaking for the couple. Obviously, they put so much time and effort into the wedding, and it was heartbreaking. So regardless, last week we did a Zoom meeting to celebrate with them. It was awesome. We surprised them by sending them food, champagne, dessert. We did experimental marketing, but it was so cool. They loved it. But the funny part and the PG-13 part of the story, very specific to the UGA community. There's something called UGA makeouts. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. Essentially, how the couple met is in college, which I forgot about, excuse me, but I might have taken a picture of them when they first met, the very first night they met, and they kissed. And it's not too inappropriate, it's not bad, but they kissed. I took a picture of it, and I sent it to UGA makeouts. That went viral when I was in college, but you couldn't see their faces. So essentially, somebody told me to be quiet. I'm at my grandparents' house. But essentially, it went viral. Nobody could see their faces, but a lot of our friend group noticed it was my apartment. So long story short, the wedding didn't go on. We celebrated last weekend. I reached out to the Red and Black saying, this is a crazy, cool culture story that I think would really bring a lot of positive I don't know, light to the UGA community. Like, we need some positive stories. This is a cool, uplifting culture story. I sent the email really late on Friday. Saturday, I got a text from the editor saying, we're very interested. We want to pick this story up. Please get the blessing from the bride and groom. And so they're going to take the story, and I got the blessing from the bride and groom. So, you know, it sucks that they had to cancel the wedding, but it's beautiful that we get to celebrate their marriage. And obviously next year it's still planned. So we'll look forward to attending that. But great story. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Great to be a part of this.
All you UGA people, don't go on UGA Makeout. Don't be doing that. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Hip, hip, hooray!
Hip,
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 Hip, hip, hooray! See you guys.
See you guys.
Bye.
Guys.
So, yeah.
hooray!